Christmas.
It's the war on Christmas.
15 years ago, on Christmas Eve, his family became his victims.
What have you done? You're my family now.
Black Christmas.
Billy Pelser has a nice home, a nice job, a nice girl, and loving parents who are about to give him
You're gonna like this. No, don't shake it. We're gonna have to open it now. It won't wait till Christmas.
the most unusual gift he ever got.
What is it?
It's your new pet.
Come on, Barney, be a good dog.
They become clever, mischievous,
What's going on here?
and dangerous.
Gremlins, huh? Little monsters.
Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante.
Welcome to this episode of Escape Pod. I'm David.
And it never fails. I always have water in the beginning.
I waited. Tony.
Tony Brown.
Wave that way, Tony. Wave. Yay. Tony, who's with us today?
These bitches.
Whole lot of fuck you too there, sir.
You better fix that. Who's with us today, Tony?
Danielle
Hey, Danielle.
and drunk ass Austin Puckett.
What's up, Austin?
What's up?
Yay.
Okay, and that's totally my fault. I take all responsibility for that.
Let's put her mic up a little closer to her face.
Okay.
Come on.
Speaking to the mic. You've been public speaking. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I did public speaking where I actually utilized my diaphragm in my voice, and I didn't need a microphone.
Well, you have to use a microphone in here.
Okay.
It does make it legible for people to hear us.
It's a Christmas season.
Yeah, it is Christmas season.
So you know what
I
that
don't know.
means?
I was just making shit up.
Horror movies.
Yay!
Yay!
Oh.
Christmas horror movies.
Death makes everybody happy, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
we watched 3. Well, some of us watched 3.
I watched 2.
Some of us watched 2.
Some of us
He
all
watched
watched
two.
too.
I got 2.
So we kind of have an overall view of every movie.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's seen Gremlins. So.
It's a classic. Yeah. So that one's gonna be easy to talk about. And then A Christmas Horror Story, which is one of the newer ones, and
That we
I've
just
got
finished.
through watching. For me, it's fucking sweet. I really like that
with
one.
Krampus.
Gotta enjoy
Was-
a little bit of Krampus.
Yeah. So there's spoilers.
If you don't.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So-
Weird. Spoilers and
Spoilers
fun
ahead. If you've never seen Gremlins, get your shit together.
and recommendations. With most likely, you're gonna be one to watch all of these because these are some fun flicks.
Yep.
Exactly.
So
I still gotta watch Black Xmas, but you're gonna tell me all about that in a little bit.
Yep.
But let's start off with A Christmas Horror Story because that should be fresh because we just watched it a few minutes ago.
It's shiny.
Yeah, it is. It is.
yeah. Krampus, Santa Claus, zombie elves. Fuck, I mean, you can't.
Crazy
it doesn't
people.
get much better
you
than
know.
that.
Yeah, and kind of an anthology. It was kind of
Yeah, a
basically
couple little
3.
wraparound stories.
Yeah.
So, I guess my question, because this is the first time I've seen it, you guys have seen it a couple times, so you probably have absorbed the lore of it a little more than I have. But I know there's been other Krampus movies and stuff like that, but do you guys know anything about the Krampus mystique, the lore of Krampus?
Puckett, you're the Krampus master.
Mm-mm. Tony Brown. It's all on you.
I don't know what country Krampus started in, but he's
Germany?
Germany?
Yeah.
Is it German?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So he's half goat, half demon. And instead of like Santa, he goes around and collects all the bad kids. And he whips them, whips them with switches.
Chains.
Whips them
And
with
chains.
chains. And like snatches them away from their parents because they're bad little assholes.
You know my favorite? Chains.
Ooh, baby.
So on Krampus knocked his December 6th.
No,
Fifth.
Krampusnacht
Fifth.
is December 5th.
Yeah.
And then
So Krampus comes around and he snatches up all the bad little kids and takes them away. So
and my birthday is actual like Krampus Day, so which is the 6th.
Mine's 14th.
So yeah, your shit's
Shitty.
fucking like in the middle of shit.
I
so.
know, right?
so Krampus is pretty much like the anti-Santa.
Anti-Santa.
So he's all the darkness of the holidays.
And which is really cool because in Europe they actually like hold these huge festivals about Krampus.
Right.
Yes.
And there's all of these people that dress up like Krampus and they roam through the streets and things like that.
And instead of celebrating Christmas, they actually had these huge festivals
Yep.
in honor of their national history, which
Yep.
shows Krampus.
Wow,
They
that's
have like
wild.
this huge Krampus festival, so it's super neat that in Europe they still do this, and it's kind of not really known here in America. I wish it was because maybe our kids wouldn't be little shits the way that they are.
Well, I think the movies have come out last year, and of course this movie a few years ago. It's starting to get into at least the more youth culture type thing. In other words,
I think there's been close to a dozen movies released in like the last 5 or 6 years just focused on Krampus.
Yeah.
Because A Christmas Horror Story actually came out in 2015. So
there you go.
You know,
There you
this is a couple of years ago, but this is probably one of the bigger movies that came out that actually includes Krampus in the whole storyline.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, it even had a few jump scares in there for me. And here I'm an old crusty guy.
Everybody was asleep.
I was never asleep. I was resting my eyes. And you wanted to give me a beer. Can you imagine?
He was closing his eyes because it was the scary part.
It was.
Oh, okay.
It's like, please make it go away. Please make it go away. There's no place like home.
But yeah, this was definitely not just Krampus though. There was definitely some other craziness going on.
Yeah, and that's cool. And it's cool. But in the in this particular version, there is spoilers, like we're saying. But pretty much one of the wrap ups is it's a big throwdown between Krampus and Santa Claus.
Heck yeah.
And I don't think the lore doesn't really have that in it, right?
I don't think so.
No, because I mean, if you look at it, like Krampus is something completely different than the whole idea of, with Santa Claus, which
Right.
is Saint Nicholas.
Right.
So those are two things. The idea of Krampus and that whole thing came way before there was this, Christian Saint Nicholas that came around. So, this kind of melds the two together. It binds them, but they're completely different ideologies from different eras and ages. So, it's kind of interesting to see them put them together, though.
Yeah,
You see Santa Claus that it's like, oh, hey, you've been good little kids. Let me give you all this fucking bullshit. And then you have Krampus. It's like, hey, you've been a little fucking shit. Let me go ahead and, grab you with my fucking hook and chain and drag you off to fucking demon world with me.
And devour your ass.
It's a different way of thinking, but you can kind of see how we've evolved as people.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, well, if you've been bad, this is what happens to you. And then at some point in time, we kind of changed our way and we're like, oh, well, let's not have negative reinforcement. Let's have positive reinforcement.
Right,
so,
right.
It's kind of interesting to see the way that, we've kind of changed our way of thinking and our way of being. And I think it's interesting that this movie kind of puts that to the forefront.
Yeah, and it's got like I said, it's got like 3 mini movies and a wraparound with William Shatner, which was awesome. But
Dangerous Dan.
Dangerous Dan. Yeah, but I guess some of the other, there's the family that goes out, and then there's the actual Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus,
Which is kind of
at the North Pole,
right? The main story because it's all, I think, mainly focused on him, and then all of a sudden his elves get a virus and turn into zombie elves,
Yeah.
and they get real pissed off. And
Elves sleeping around like that. It happens.
Hey, you know.
Herpetitis and
Shiny is like the main elf that first gets sick and becomes just super pissed off and doesn't even want a cookie. Has the best line in the whole movie.
he does.
I don't want your fucking cookie, you reindeer fucking snow whore. That's what he calls
Classic.
Mrs. Claus.
Yep.
Yes.
That's so funny. Everybody loves my
Lord.
cookies. It's because everybody's had your cookies, Mrs. Claus. Mhm.
And then shit just starts going downhill from there.
Yeah. As he gets,
All the elves turn into zombies, and Santa's got to take them all out.
yeah, and then it starts jumping into some of the other storylines, which is there's a family of 4 that you find out the husband's kind of hurting for money, so he's trying to reach out to one of the relatives that's rich to try and, hey, you need to help bankroll my new venture, and yeah, and then apparently,
The aunt wants nothing to do with him because the one little kid's a little shit and he breaks her Krampus statue. So
right,
And the other one's a little shit because she's a klepto.
Yes.
yep.
So foreshadowing to guess what happens to little shits with Krampus?
Yeah.
People start dying.
Yep.
And church doesn't save you, but
No.
No, 'cause they go to church and that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
And then the third little storyline was the investigative reporting, kind of the news team, but they're actually students trying to investigate a crime that happened last year at Christmas, and
Right.
they're wanting to kind of dig more deeper in that, get a scoop kind of thing, and it kind of backfires when they end up being in the folly of whatever killed them people last time.
Yeah, the ghosts and the people crucified on the wall, and
Innocent little fuckers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And she becomes quite horny.
yeah,
Don't
she gets
we all?
possessed and's got to have that baby.
Yeah.
gotta get that demon, baby.
Well, and then
Demon seed.
and then the connection from that story to the other story about the changeling is the cop that saw the murder scene
Yeah.
before
Right,
the
yeah.
kids were there, and then his story is him and his wife and kid go out into the woods to go cut down a Christmas tree on somebody else's land like an asshole, and
Yeah.
the little kid gets lost and winds up in a big ass tree with a hole in the center
Big
of
vagina tree.
it. Big
The
vagina
the
tree.
vagina tree.
Goes to the upside down, looks like. And-
So
Yeah.
what's really interesting is that everything in this movie is basically like, if you're a fucking dick,
yeah.
then guess what's gonna fucking happen to you?
You're gonna die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit's gonna come back to you.
Yeah.
It's that whole idea of fucking karma. So be a dick, you get dicky fucking shit to happen to you. So,
And it all takes
Anyone.
place in winter, so there's
Yeah.
snow almost in every scene,
Yep.
fuck snow.
and
Tony's favorite.
the
Yeah,
crew
it is
and
Tony's favorite.
the editors fucked up because they're supposed to be there's scenes where they're walking through the forest where nobody else has ever been, but there's fucking feet print everywhere.
Yeah.
So the crew wasn't paying attention to what they were doing and leaving feet print everywhere in the fucking fresh snow. And
Yeah.
Well, there was like, here's scene 1, and here's scene 52 that we ended up actually doing the takeoff of.
Yeah.
Somebody should have come out there with the fucking broom or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Cleaned up a little
shit.
continuity there.
Yeah.
Well, like I even told you too, when they first chop down the tree and they take off with the tree and they're dragging it on the ground, which is leaving an imprint in the snow,
a huge drag
and the
mark.
sun's right behind them, and then 2 seconds later they look back. Where's little Timmy? Or whatever the hell his name was. He's gone, but where do they go? They just drop the tree and just start darting off different directions in the wood. And I'm like, follow your path you just made, and you'll go back to where little Timmy was last seen in the vagina tree.
And then follow his footprints, and then you can find them. End of story. you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if I didn't have like 50 people in the crew leaving footprints of snow, I couldn't find shit.
You can't find a damn
Find
thing. It's
anybody.
like,
I don't know.
I got nothing to go for.
Oh.
So
But it was really for a like a B horror movie. It was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, and then Shatner's tie-in. Of course, he's weaving a story too that you don't find out to the end. Is
Yep.
well, that really pulls it most of it together. And and that's and his performance was good in it because he really didn't have to do much. He just had to be Shatner, and that was awesome.
Yeah, drink some whiskey and get mad at was it his producer? I guess.
Yeah.
And which was funny though, because like once you get done with the entire film, like you realize that he is basically setting everything up for you from the moment he starts speaking.
Yep.
You know, where it's his family that previously passed away and like all these other things. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I should have known this shit.
Yeah. What's going on there? Oh shit. So all in all though, I'd say A Christmas Horror Story is definitely a good watch if you want a good horror movie that is around the holiday season. You know, it's a win-win
With some good humor in it.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, zombie elves, Krampus, Saint Nick, ghosts.
When you have a fucking zombie elf that like just pops his head out and goes, "It's shiny!"
Yeah.
I mean, holy fuck! How are you not gonna laugh?
It's awesome. It was awesome.
So I mean,
Definitely.
just good shit.
Everybody needs to see this movie. It's gonna slowly become a Christmas cult classic.
Oh yeah, exactly,
definitely,
exactly.
definitely.
You know, there's a lot of people like myself, not topic related to horror, but you know, Christmas movie. What's a Christmas movie? What makes a Christmas movie? You know, Die Hard's a Christmas movie to me. I love it. You know, it's Hans Gruber gets kicked off kicked off Nakatomi. It's not Christmas until I see that.
Until
I'm just
he
saying.
falls off. Yeah,
Exactly.
Like, until I get you on that.
So, but that's the thing. It's, you know, Christmas. There are some great Christmas classics, and I love some of the classics. But still, it's good to have a nice variety around the holidays. I like watching a lot of them.
And you know what else is a Christmas classic, but most people don't consider it a Christmas classic?
What's that?
Gremlins.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. That's true. That is true.
Like that segue there? Oh,
I did.
Shit.
I did.
I totally don't understand how like people don't see that as being like a Christmas classic because it came out during Christmas.
Yep.
It's a fucking Christmas movie.
Not only that, but I mean, it involves
But you know what?
demonic creatures.
It didn't come out during Christmas. That's the
Did it
fucked
for
up
really
part.
real not?
No, it came out in the summer.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I think
That's
so.
Tatard.
Yeah, the year it was released, it came out in the summer because there was, what else came out that year? Raiders of the Lost Ark, I
Oh,
think.
it was a bunch of big ones.
A couple other big movies, so that studio
It's,
wanted to release it then. So yeah, it didn't come out in Christmas, and I think that's why people don't think of it as a Christmas movie.
Yeah,
I think it's maybe because I'm too young to remember that. Thanks for pointing that out, man.
Oh, yeah, she had to go there, didn't she?
Yeah.
Danielle, can you grab this knife out of my back that you put in there? It's kind of twisted a little too.
That's okay. That's okay.
But yeah, I mean that's
still love
that's
Get my walker. I love you too, babe.
that's about a father searching for the perfect Christmas gift for his 33-year-old son that still lives at home.
Exactly. Thank you. Get out of here, she. Bye, Billy. Yeah. So yeah, I just watched it last night. So I'm fired up on that thing. So yeah.
Dude, like usually the 1st of December is when I start pulling out all of my Christmas classics, and that is one of them.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's one of my faves.
It's great. I mean, it's got a good cast. I mean, it presents, you know, Steven Spielberg presents, which he was executive producer, and he basically got it together with his Amblin Entertainment. You know, they produced it to kind of, you know, help them as they were growing and building their movie mobile. You know, but Joe Dante is the director of it, and it was really really good movie that had a lot of stars in it. Like Phoebe Cates and Judd Reinhold, who were both in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yep.
But and she is the perfect woman. Just sorry, honey, but you know, I can't help it.
Well, fuck you too, then,
I'm pretty
asshole.
sure Danielle is better than that.
I mean, well, and it has a Kentucky Harvester in it, so I mean,
There you go. It does.
I don't even
And,
think that's an actual tractor.
No, I really don't think it is, but I mean,
What
you
was
know.
in the one actor that drove it? Dick Miller.
Yes.
He's like one of the top 5 actors that have been in more movies than any other actor in history.
Yeah,
Really?
that dude's he's
Because
in
he's-
so many
I mean, he's
things, man.
Terminator and just thousands of movies. You see his IMDb page, it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, you just read
Oh,
and read
wow.
and read
Yeah.
and read. Yep.
Because none of them are like big starring role, but just the little bits and pieces and stuff that he
Yeah.
does. And he's good. And his performance in Gremlins was really good because you kind of rooted for him and everything. And you know, when you're sitting there and he's back in his recliner and I didn't get the door, and then here comes the thing comes plowing through it. Oh crap!
Yeah, and you were telling us the other day when we were hanging out about
Yep.
the time machine
Yes,
little
H.G.
little
Wells.
egg in there.
Yeah, a little Easter egg. If you're watching that, there's a part when his dad is calling because he's at a convention of a bunch of like all these different effects, which you see like Robbie the Robot, which is a famous movie robot, and then in the background you see the time machine from the movie The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, and the guy's back there flipping with switches, and you see him talking on the phone, and you see a guy messing with the switches, and then the next scene he cuts back to him talking to Billy, and then it goes back to his dad. When it goes back to his dad, there's just a puff of smoke, and the machine is gone, and there's people walking around looking, going, what happened to it? And just in the background, it's like you just keep talking.
And that's so funny. I never
Never
caught
noticed that.
until you
Yeah, I
told me
never
about
caught
it.
that either.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've watched that movie probably 200 times.
Yeah. It's got all kinds of neat little things. And like the radio DJ, his billboard, and it's because he's executive producer on Raiders of the Lost Ark. You see it's in the Raiders script, and
Yeah.
it's and he's dressed up in the Raiders uniform. The DJ it's talking,
Oh, damn.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, and Tony was saying that the set that they used was actually the set from
Back to the Future.
Yeah,
Same town.
Yeah, same little
same exact
area.
little
Yeah.
town.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
So I guess that's back in the day when they just had to reuse stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just over and over. And unfortunately, like they did with Gone with the Wind when they burned down.
Terror and all
What was
that.
it?
Not Terror. It was Atlanta.
Yeah, but then I forgot what movie it was, but it was another movie set that they used to burn down for Gone with the Wind. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, okay.
King
Okay.
Kong, maybe.
That could have been, yeah.
Yeah, and they just burned that set down because that movie was over, and
Right.
they didn't
need
need to
it.
keep things back then.
Yep.
So they were like, "Hey, we need to burn down a town in this movie, so let's burn that fucking set on the back lot."
Yeah, there's some crazy things in Hollywood that they've done that you'd just be totally shocked. It's like, wow, that was in this movie and that was in this movie, and it was also in this movie, and it was in this movie. And here's the same thing, but they've just done little decorations to it, little changes, and it's like, oh my God, that's the same house that was in this horror movie, that's in this Hollywood classic, that's in this.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but yeah, it's kind of stuff happens all the time because it's make believe, it's magic,
But
Hollywood
at the same
magic.
time, it's so amazing that you're able to tie in all these different movies and all these different sets to each other. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it just shows how much Hollywood is able to recreate everything and bring it all together.
It is
It's just-
awesome.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
This fucking headset is huge, dude. And it keeps falling off my head.
How can it fall off that head? I don't.
Dude, it's fucking gigantic, man.
You know what else I read
It's a
about the
dainty little
Gremlins that
head.
was
I saw
crazy
this.
as hell, though?
Ooh, I'm number one.
Very much so, 2 times.
Me too.
I guess some of the original ideas about Gremlins, it was supposed to have been way more of a gory horror movie.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
Even I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Like,
Yeah.
it's supposed
But-
to be seriously fucking
Yeah, like
horrible.
the mom was Spike was supposed to have cut the mom's head off and walked down the stairs holding the mom's decapitated head in one
Holy
of the
shit!
scenes.
Why didn't
Yeah.
they make that?
Yeah, and-
Right?
Because at the time it wouldn't have gone over.
It wouldn't have made it back in that day, but like today, I mean, we're not
It'd been
shocked and
number
amazed
one.
by anything.
yeah, and
So-
Gizmo wasn't going to be the hero of the movie. He was actually going to turn into Spike.
But everybody loves Gizmo.
Yeah,
I
but
love
he
Gizmo.
was supposed to turn into Spike, and that was going to be the horror aspect of it. Was this
Of course, I
cute
also
little,
love fucking Spike.
cute little Mogwai was going to turn into this evil fucking gremlin that like murdered motherfuckers.
Yep.
Where was that in my childhood?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just kind of interesting to see that evolution of what they wanted back then.
Versus what happens now.
But today, that would have totally been a
Yeah.
perfect movie. People would
Oh, yeah.
be totally fucking stoked about that shit.
Well, there was even
But-
rumors that they're like, hey, we could, they talked about remaking it, and it's like, I can't see him remaking that
I
one.
think
No.
it's still a
I hope
go.
not.
And
But if
it's
they-
going to be CGI heavy too.
And that's horrible. That's horrible. I cannot see that being a CGI movie.
Yeah.
Especially
I
what we've
mean,
come to expect now.
I mean,
versus what
you know,
we've
if
been-
they had a few digital effects, could have probably used it. There was 2 scenes in the movie which still they don't actually really hold up today. But you get past them because they're only 2 small scenes. There's the one scene when after Spike jumps into the YMCA pool or whatever it is, and there's literally thousands of the Gremlins coming down the street, and that is stop motion animation. And it is not good stop motion animation.
But it's badass for its time.
But it's no, it really was not even good for its
No,
time.
it wasn't. It was fucking horrible. It was fucking atrocious.
But the scene's only like maybe 3-4 seconds long, but
I
it's
would
just
say
it's
it's
just
just a
enough
couple of
to
seconds.
get the point that there's a mass of them coming your way, and then they cut it off. And then the other scene that they did was in the theater scene when they're getting ready, when they've got them all kind of trapped in the theater.
Singing
And-
Snow White.
And, yeah, exactly. Why is hi-ho? Yeah, and of course, Gizmo sings it all. I don't know if you notice some of the stuff. Every time, like, he passes the dog in the movie, you're like, hi, dog. He makes his little noises, but he's talking to the dog. He's talking to everybody. You're not paying attention to that. You just think he's making little mogwai noises, which was done by Howie Mandel, by the way, who is amazing.
Oh, Jesus, I never realized
Yeah.
that.
And he did Bobby from Bobby's World.
Yep.
Really?
That's the same fucking voice.
Yeah.
Don't fucking stop. I just had a fucking oh my God, slap me in the face on there.
Shoot.
My name is Bobby.
Yeah,
I
he
love
talked about
Howie.
that on some podcast I was listening to about how he got paid twice for doing the same voice.
Yeah, exactly.
He said it made me famous and rich for doing the same voice.
Exactly. But boy, that but you can't imagine Gizmo without that voice now. I don't think.
No.
No.
It's so classic. And then the little singing thing, that was actually him singing it, and they looped some of that stuff up to make it, the vibrato part, whatever. But that's him actually doing all that singing, all that voice work, and all that was him, And it's really not to the end part when he's leaving. Spoiler, by the way, when he's leaving and he actually, one has only to listen. How can you understand what he's saying? And then he's like, I believe, and you're just like, okay, well, that was a little too obvious, but but still, it was, and
but
still,
it was so cute.
and even then, when he walks down the stairs and he passes the dog, he's like, bye, dog. You hear him say, bye, dog. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And then Gremlins 2.
well, yeah, which we're not reviewing today, but yeah, Gremlins
yeah,
2.
we ain't going into that shit right
Well,
now.
let's go back to Gremlins real quick and talk about probably my favorite scene in the whole movie is Phoebe Cates, which she delivers flawlessly.
Oh,
is
I bet she does everything flawlessly for you.
You better stop that, especially when it gets out of swimming pools. What? Anyway,
What?
when you Fast Times, never mind. Anyway, that's you know what I'm talking about.
The best Santa Claus story ever.
Yeah, and you remember that part, right? When how she doesn't like Christmas anymore because that's what happened to her dad.
He was in the chimney.
Yeah, that was great.
He slipped and fell and broke his neck.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And just like and of course even little Gizmo's all like with big eyes. Which some people don't know this either too. But when they shot those scenes, the close-ups of Gizmo, because the little puppets, about maybe a foot tall total, okay, and these all animated and stuff with different parts. But every time they show a close-up, that is actually about a 3-foot head. Actually, it's huge, and they made it so that when they did close-ups, they could get even more detail out of his face and moving functions, and had like oversized like when he's leaning up against the pillow. So there's like the huge material and stuff to make it look like he's up against the same pillow and stuff. That's why it's really close when he does close-ups that you can see his face and not see anything else around it.
Holy Jiminy shit.
I know, crazy, right? Yeah, I got friends in the industry. You know what I'm talking about.
Hey.
So anyway,
I think we talked to that guy
we
before.
have. Hopefully, we'll talk to him again soon. But yeah, so it's little stuff like that. It's just kind of neat, but they really pulled it off. They really sold it. And
which is
go ahead.
crazy because they don't they don't put that kind of effort forth these days in a lot of things. Like, it's, oh, well, we can do it with the computer, you know, we're going to do CGI. And, you know, back then, like, you had to fucking be skilled at what you did and really try and put that shit together.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of movies today are just so different than they were when, you know, I was a kid and you were teenagers.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Or an adult.
I was going to say. Or hanging out in bars when you were in, what, 4. All right, so thanks, Danielle.
But yeah, I'm definitely a fan of practical effects. Like, just because I guess growing up watching those movies in the 80s and stuff, it just was way cooler.
And I think that people that watch a lot of horror movies appreciate those effects more than most people because, you know, that's really what horror movies were built on, were those effects.
Yep. Yeah, because it definitely wasn't that quality acting in most of them.
Hell no. You know, that's like C rating fucking acting, but the effects is what fucking made that shit.
Yeah.
And the ability for people to do those special effects and build all of those things and make those things happen.
Yeah.
Things like Gremlins, things like if you look at all of the, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I mean, just all of the Hellraiser, one of my very favorites. You know, we wouldn't have had those without all of those effects and things like that. The acting may not have been the best.
But it took people who were really skilled at what they did to make them come.
Yes.
What they are.
Puppet masters, you know, all of these things.
That's pretty much, if you've seen Nicotero or Tom Savini's name on it, then you knew that shit was going to be better.
Yes.
Yeah.
The acting might not be the best,
but
but
you had skilled fucking people.
You give it back to the you know, like Lon Chaney Sr., who really started that, you know, the makeup effects to where they are today. You know, was, you know, and then Dick Smith, who, you know, did the Planet of the Apes. That, oh my God, that was a game changer.
Yep.
You know, because people were like, you know, this looks like a fucking chimpanzee talking, or what the hell, you know. Which now standards like, you know, okay, but at that time, that was like, what the fuck?
Well, they changed the whole idea of what movies really could be.
Yep.
So, and really, you know, people don't appreciate the whole sci-fi world and the horror world, but those two genres of movies changed everything.
Oh yeah.
In movies. I mean, they really pushed the fucking envelope on shit.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love some of the new movies and stuff that's coming out, and digital effects have come a long way. Not all movies are as good as others on digital effects. We'll just say that, you know. But you got like the new Star Wars and even the Force Awakens. You know, they do have a lot of. That's funny. They have a lot of practical effects in that, even though it's a lot of digital. But they do a real good, you know, merging of them to
unless
to get them
it's
together.
a bearded Superman.
Okay, Justice League. Don't even get me started about the new Justice League. Had reshoots. He had a beard, and then he's the whole time Henry Cavill's like this. John had teeth. Hi, Superman. It was shocking. The first like 2 minutes of the movie, I'm like, what the fuck?
Who was that back in the day?
The fireman, the guy from Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey,
yeah.
Fire Marshal Bill. Is that
that is almost what it looked like. It was that bad. I'll show you a video clip here in a little bit. I'll be back. No.
Holy Jiminy shitness.
So you know, Gremlins overall though, fantastic movie. Yeah. It is solid, and you know, you probably should let a little kid watch it without a parent being with them, just because there actually is a few people that don't make it in the movie. We'll just say that, and but no, not real language, nothing real violent, you know. But but it's definitely.
Oh, and the Gremlins like shooting each other and shit when they're all drunk in the bars.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty
Oh,
damn
dude, that shit's
crazy.
fucking- I want to be that bartender. Dude. I mean, I straight up want to be that bartender.
There you go.
Yeah,
But,
but
but at the same time, I mean, it shows what actual skill with a makeup artist comes to be as compared to CGI whenever we do everything versus special effects.
Yep.
I mean, compared to everything, I mean, the
Quit
fact
hitting
that they
my
were...
microphone,
I
goddammit.
know, right?
It's all right.
But the fact that we were able to do with everything that we did with such skill and such precise makeup artists.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
the fact
amazing.
that we have to do everything now versus with CGI.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mind blowing.
It is, and you look at like people that like on effects teams, you know, there's like 30 guys and they're working hard, and then you get like digital effects teams and there's like 500 people on the list when you're watching the movie. I'm like, oh my god, and they're just working on their one little part and it all puts together, but it's so intricate. So let's move on.
Okay.
To a movie that I didn't get to see. He didn't see.
I didn't either. I'm just saying.
Let's discuss.
Dude, Black Christmas is one of my favorite fucking movies.
I don't know.
Probably
but-
Danielle's favorite Christmas movie.
Oh my Jesus, you're my family now.
Sorry, let me ask you this before we go on. I know you get ready to roll. I love it. But so there's Black Christmas, which was the original.
Yes.
And then there was a remake or a modern version called Black Xmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which,
So, but basically the same
movie,
premise.
but for
Same-
some reason,
yeah.
I guess to update it, they just instead of spelling out Christmas.
They did the Xmas.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
kind of more modern if you're going to be more tougher with it, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but actually, one of the main characters in the original movie is actually in the remake. She is the house mom
Cool.
in the sorority. So it's kind of it's really cool that they made that link between the two. A lot of times when you have somebody do a remake, there's no link. Everything is just totally fucking different.
Yeah.
You can see that in Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave, so many fucking amazing horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and then they make these remakes in the 2000s,
Yeah.
and it's just there's such a fucking complete separation.
Yeah.
Holy Jesus. Oh, it's still a thing. Okay, never mind.
You're all right, good.
I don't want to fucking
That's
sway
what the
Yeah,
beer
I can mess
holders
that
are
up.
there
Shush,
for.
shush. So it was really, it was really neat that they brought.
I'm just kidding. Hi, Brandy.
So it was neat that they brought that in there, but it was still a sorority house, so they kept that idea of it. But the idea of Billy, in which is the villain in this, is a little bit different.
Right.
Some of the things are the same, where he calls within the house, and which is something you're really not going to be able to do today because of the way that landlines are and all that kind of stuff.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of interesting. They really try to pull a lot of those things in. I just really like the fact that the opening scene, somebody dies.
Okay.
Yeah. From the get go, it's violent from the get go.
It's somebody dies the whole fucking way through, and when somebody gets their eye taken out, they spend a lot of time to actually make it look like somebody's eye was literally being pulled out of their skull and then eaten.
So who's Billy?
So is Billy a cannibal? What's going on?
Who's Billy?
Billy is the son. He is the son that has a condition that makes him yellow. So his mother hates him, wants nothing to do with him. She looks at him and it reminds her of her husband that she completely detests. So she hates him from the get-go.
Right.
I never understood the fact that there's this fucking kid and he's completely vanished from any knowledge of society knowing of him. But
they lock him away in the
they
attic.
lock him away in a fucking attic. Yeah. Okay? This kid watches his mother and his mother's
stepfather, I guess.
the dude that she's fucking kill his dad. like with a fucking hammer. Like they put a fucking bag over his head, and that becomes kind of part of his MO.
Right.
Is the whole bag on the head, and then beat him with a fucking hammer, and then bury him underneath the house. In which I'm kind of like, dude, you'll smell that. That's how fucking John Wayne Gacy got caught. But there's my rational mind thinking of shit. So the mom and the father lock him up in the fucking attic. And then mom tries to have sex with the stepdad. Well, he's got a little bit of whiskey dick.
Always lovely.
Right? So she's
I wouldn't know what
sitting
you're
there,
talking
she's
about.
like, oh yeah. Every fucking time. Dude passes the fuck out, limp as a fucking wet noodle, you know. So where does she go?
Preach it, sister.
Goes, you probably know about that more than I do.
Wow. Okay.
So she goes upstairs to her fucking young ass child and drops her fucking robe and fucks her son and ends up getting pregnant. KK?
Yeah.
All kinds
creep-
of therapy needed.
creepy.
Oh,
Yeah.
So she has a daughter named Agnes that doesn't have this jaundice fucking issue that Billy has.
Right.
So after
Billy.
Agnes is born, he's still locked up in the fucking attic. Well, he's got little holes so he can see everything. And she like straight up looks up and she's like, "She's my family now." Basically, just like turning him off.
Oh,
Wow.
hell up, bitch.
So that's when he goes crazy.
Yeah. So that's when shit just goes straight up downhill. And
Crazy.
yeah. So
Kill-
after,
Kills his mom at this point.
yep. Goes downstairs.
Goes on Norman Bates, huh?
Well, puts a bag over Agnes's head.
Yeah.
Rips out one of her eyes and eats it.
Mm.
Kills stepdad. And then takes mom into the kitchen, beats her to death with a fucking rolling pin,
I'm sure we all been there before.
and takes a cookie cutter and cuts angels out of her back and makes like Christmas cookies out of her flesh.
Oh my god, it's
Flash
almost
cookies.
poetic.
Yeah.
Chicken.
Ugh.
Tastes like chicken.
Kinda
It's the
creepy
closest we
poetic,
could get to
but-
what mom used to taste.
So and then years pass. He's in the insane asylum.
Right.
and
They finally catch his ass, I guess.
Yeah, and
Well,
then,
not like he totally gets out.
Oh.
He's
oh.
just like, yeah,
escapes.
like he's just straight up like, I'm gonna be home for Christmas. So he kills the fucking, he
Wow.
kills the guard
Fuck me.
with a candy cane.
pretty sharp. Remember when you
yeah.
used to take the candy canes and
Oh, yeah.
till they get to the point? Yeah, he does that, kills it. Then he's going back to his house, which, since he was a child, has turned into a sorority house.
Sorority
Yeah.
bitches.
And the,
Don't
the,
they always?
the legend of Billy goes on, so they all know about this. And the thing is you always have to have a gift for Billy every Christmas, or he's gonna come and get you.
Right.
So the legend of Billy, and they know that's the house and everything. So
So I guess all his little secret passageways are all still there.
yeah.
And nobody knows. about
Nobody
it.
knows. Amazing.
Yeah. So, of course he goes back to the house
Learn
and
how to do a
then,
remodel. That's all I'm saying.
Right?
and then all the co-eds start disappearing and dying one by one. And then,
It's amazing and it makes me smile because I just love it when bitches get killed.
Not only that, but this is the first movie where there's not titties involved. I'm just saying.
It's a sorority movie,
Yeah.
and there's not like, oh my god, here's my baby.
no,
I don't wanna watch that.
no
I'm
sorority
just kidding.
shower scene or nothing.
No, there is a shower scene,
Well,
but there ain't no titties in that shit.
There
no,
always
no
are.
lingerie pillow fights.
No. No random like boobies, no random nothing. There's a dumb drunk bitch that
No
There
boobies.
always
she's
is.
like this,
Yeah.
and then they move her, and oh, bitch ain't got no motherfucking eyes. I love it. I love titties too. I
Hey,
mean,
hell
you know.
yeah.
Hell, even I can get into it.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's a
I've been in
a
a strip club with you. Anyway.
it's a
Hey.
good bloody remake.
Yeah.
With a good twist at the end, which we're not going to spoil the twist.
Oh, yeah, no.
So,
That's good. Now, so this one you just described to me is with the sorority house. That's the newest one, the remake.
Yes, that's the newest one. The
Now, does the
older
original
one,
have any titties in it? The old one?
no.
No titties in the old one either. Not classic titties.
Really?
I don't remember. I haven't seen I haven't seen the original one since I was
feel
a
like
kid.
Oh
everything's
no,
classic.
God!
Sure,
I've
is
seen-
that what's wrong with you?
I've seen that one recently, and I don't remember there actually being like any boobage, even though the fact that it was late
Comedy?
70s, early 80s.
In the classic? Seriously?
Yeah.
I was like, every single classic that I can think of usually has titties involved somewhere.
There may be like a little bit, but not enough to make it prominent to where you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna watch that
Right,
movie for
right.
the fucking titties.
Really?
So when you compare the two, I mean, is it like 10 years apart, 20 years apart, or is it closer than that?
Oh no, dude! Like one is probably, I mean, they're completely separate. They're two completely different movies.
Right.
Even the storyline of it is a bit different.
Okay.
Who Billy is in the original is different than who Billy is in the remake.
Gotcha.
So everything's completely
Both of them
different.
were good, worth watching though.
Oh
Both of
yeah,
them?
totally.
Okay.
Yeah, fucking totally. I really enjoyed the original one, and which I hadn't seen the original. I didn't know originally that it was a remake.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm a huge horror movie fan.
It's milk.
So,
I was trying to look up Black Christmas, but
Tab right there in
use
front of
my
you.
phone,
fucking
There's a tablet right
piece
there in
of
front of you.
shit phone.
Here, baby, use my phone.
So here's my
Okay.
question. If you had to recommend the original versus the remake, which would you say was better?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh no, dude! They are both their own movies,
Really?
and they're both
Okay.
amazing.
So
like
even
they
though
are
watch them
both fucking wonderful movies.
So if you get a chance, one
okay.
week watch one, next week watch the other.
Dude, I would actually say watch them together.
Oh, back to back?
Like watch them back to back because they're different enough to where you're going to enjoy both of them for the differences that they have. And they're similar enough that you're going to be able to see the links between the two. It's kind of like watching the original Last House on the Left and watching the remake of Last House on the Left.
Oh my god.
They are both amazing movies.
Yeah.
Amazing movies. And the time periods that they were put out in, you got to understand that there's differences.
And there's always going to be differences between two movies that are from
Yeah.
two so separate.
Well, you're
different
looking at
genres.
like a 40-year difference there.
Yeah.
So you got to understand that, this is allowed him, at this point, and this is allowed at this point.
Yeah.
And, this is how society believes, and this is how society thinks, and this is what we allow. So I think looking at that, you can thoroughly appreciate both movies for everything that they absolutely are. They're wonderful movies.
Cool.
1974 was the original game.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Holy fuck! It's as old as you.
Yeah.
Older than me.
Oh, honey, I wasn't even thought of then. I wasn't even a fucking sperm in my daddy's nut.
My mother wasn't even a sperm in her daddy's nuts.
The original Black Christmas is generally considered to be one of the earliest slasher films,
Well, there
as
you go.
well as serving as an influence for Halloween.
There you go.
And you can, like, if you look at actually the way that Halloween was produced and
That's John
even some of
Carpenter's
the,
Halloween, right?
yeah, like some
Yeah.
of the shots that they had in it,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
definitely see him in the original Black Christmas.
Cool.
So,
Very cool. So a recommendation from both of you guys then, huh?
Thumbs
oh
up.
god,
Cool.
like 2 thumbs. Both of them, the original and the remake, 2 of my favorite Christmas movies.
And they both
Okay.
did really well in the box office too.
Oh,
Mhm.
cool.
The
Really?
original was made for
Yeah.
like $645,000, and they made $4 million in 1974.
That's good, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
So
was
that's
huge.
a lot of fucking
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Yes.
And then I think the one in 2006 was like a $2-point-something million budget, and they made like $23 million.
There you go.
So they were both, well received in the box office.
Yeah.
And for horror movies, that's amazing. I mean, most people don't really appreciate horror movies. They wait
Until this year, man, 2017 was like the fucking year of the
Yeah,
horror
it was.
movie.
That's fucking sad.
Yeah. And you know what? It's going to be probably some good stuff coming up around the Oscar time. And I mean, I'm telling you, that's a lot of people are already buzzing about Get Out. It has a chance to be nominated for several different awards, and that's fantastic.
I still haven't watched it.
Oh my God! Well,
haven't either.
we're gonna
Look at
wrap up
me.
here in just a minute so he can watch it with us. Okay? Thanks. No, I'm just kidding. But we're gonna watch that. It's dude, it's good.
Yeah, I definitely need to watch it.
That's good.
So I've purposely not read anything about it, so I don't even know the premise of the movie, just because I want to be completely unaware of what's going on.
Well, all I can tell you without spoiling anything for you is that at some point in the movie, you want to get out. That's about it.
Okay. I know some
Give me
guys.
the look like you dumb cheesy ass motherfucker.
I know some guys crying at some point. So that's our 3 Halloween. Or Halloween? No. Horror Christmas movies.
Hell no. We went Halloween. I would be all fucking crazy on that shit.
Halloween Christmas
Right.
movies.
I mean,
Everybody
that's
check
our
them out.
anniversary.
You know, next year
17
maybe
years.
next year
Why
we'll
not?
do
Oh my
a
God,
we'll
that
do
means
a
best of the
week long
year.
podcast assembly. We'll do a 7 series of the 7 best horror movies according to Danielle and
crap.
Tony Brown, and we'll have a talk on each movie each night. We'll do a separate podcast for that, but that's next Halloween. We'll do it in advance so that you guys will be on because you guys they go out
One
of town.
that is
for their-
not a horror movie, but I thoroughly enjoy
Yeah.
is Hocus Pocus.
Oh my God.
Oh, that is great. That is a great movie. That is great.
Yeah, and they're
This
making,
bitch knows what I'm saying.
Hell
Oh, yes.
yes. Oh my
Uh-huh.
God.
They're making part 2
Is that
or a
real?
remake. I'm not sure if
Of
I've
what?
heard.
Fucking Hocus Pocus?
Yes, and
What
it's
the fuck is wrong with you, Tony Brown?
yeah, like
I'm
that's
not
he's
making
not
it.
making
Is
it, but
Bette
they
Midler in
are.
that shit?
No.
No.
Oh,
No.
well, then that's fucking
It's,
Tatar.
what's her face? It's in all these remakes that are slowly starting to destroy everything.
What the fuck is
She was
wrong
in
with people?
Ghostbusters. What was her name?
I don't know, dumb cunt?
Mike and
Bum,
Molly.
bum, bum.
Yeah, that Mike and Molly chick.
Dumb cunt?
Melissa
McCarthy. Yeah, she's
Melissa
okay,
dumb cunt?
but she has really. Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, I
Ghostbusters.
love her,
Ooh,
but seriously, fuck her.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, so the
remake
Sanderson
was horrible.
sisters are going to be 3 new people.
Yep.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I'm
3
sorry.
new dumb cunts.
They're really
Yep.
redoing that whole thing,
Supposedly.
and they're using new people. Go fuck themselves.
There's 2 pissed off bitches right here.
And this is number 1.
Okay?
It's like,
Mad Ginger bitch.
I've
Mad
been
Shola
waiting.
bitch.
I've been waiting for the second. And seriously, they're gonna remake the first, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna feature. Oh
All right.
hell
Hey, you
no!
still smell good.
Oh, thank you.
When we wrap this up, I'll show you guys a video clip of that story.
So
All right, so we're
that's
wrapping
our
this up.
that's our Christmas movie review.
That's right, Christmas horror movie review.
Christmas horror movie review.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
don't want all the kissy, lovey.
So you know what? Okay, if you guys, last thing
Fuck the
out,
cunts.
the if you had one of these 3 movies that you had to watch, but you could only watch one, which one would it be?
A Christmas
Black
horror
Christmas.
story.
Black Christmas,
A
Christmas
Christmas
Horror
horror
Story.
story.
Like ever? Like I could never watch any of the other 2.
That's it. Yeah,
Fuck.
that's it.
Seriously?
Oh.
This is just a hypothetical.
A Christmas horror story. I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's like, here's fucking shiny, you snow whore. I'm just saying.
It'd have to be Black Christmas.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And I'll
Fuck you,
have to
Tony
say
Brown.
mine would have to be
Dude.
Gremlins.
I will admit.
That's
I've
why I
never
had to
seen it, so I
hesitate. It
don't
was
know.
it was a hard one.
I say Black Christmas, like, there's nothing better than somebody being stabbed in the eye with a hand-blown fucking unicorn, like,
I will
just-
admit, I've never seen it, but that sounds fucking amazing. But I have to admit, there's nothing more than telling Mrs. Claus that she's a snow whore. I'm just saying.
well,
That's pretty
I mean,
good.
you know,
Hello, shiny.
there's multiple people that are killed with this hand-blown glass unicorn.
Yeah.
And
What-
one of them happens to be in her eye hole.
But I'm saying the fact
Skull
that you
fuck.
get to scalp,
Literally.
Yeah.
you get to scalp like an undead zombie snow elf. I mean, come on now.
That's pretty awesome.
So
Yep.
we need to make the listeners aware that our next movie review is going to be a massive, massive spoiler.
That is
Ooh,
that is
what is
true.
So be aware. We're letting you know now. We're going to let
Oh.
you know before we
Depends on when they listen to this.
post
but,
the next one, or if it may be after it. But
Yeah, no, this
Post-
is actually, this is going up next, and then after that is going to be
that movie right there.
yeah.
because we're gonna go to. I am going to venture into public and sit in a theater full of Star Wars nerds.
Holy shit!
Yep.
And
Oh yeah, I'm so amazed that this is gonna happen.
and we are going to watch this movie, and hopefully by the end of it, they find Spock and Captain Kirk has sex with an alien, and it'll be all good.
I'm not involved in this, am I?
No, you do realize how pissed off he just made
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
Star Wars fans.
Captain Kirk isn't part of Star Wars?
No.
Holy Jesus!
Alrighty then. And on that note, thanks for listening to this episode of Escape Pod. We'll see you guys, maybe.
Adios.
Time for another drink. Bottoms up.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Escape Pod. If you enjoyed it, please like the episode and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you would like to be a part of future podcasts, then email us at outbreakpodcast@gmail.com. And be sure to visit our website, outbreakpodcast.com, for more episodes, show notes, photos, and other podcasts on the Outbreak Podcasting Network. That's outbreakpodcast.com.